get that trash out of here. Let's go, baby. In today's video, I'll be talking about my first impressions with the Stasis Titan subclass. They call it the Behemoth, and that's an appropriate name for it. On one hand, I'm a little disappointed with it, but on the other, I'm quite impressed. And here's why. When I heard Stasis, when I heard ice abilities, when I heard slowing down, freezing, whatever, I thought crowd control. MMO crowd control. Meaning you drag enemies together, you group them up so your whole team can shoot them together. Instead of 6 people shooting 6 different targets, you could be 6 people shooting one singular frozen target that can't shoot you back. That's where my head was when I was thinking about this new subclass. After making it to 5500 in the competitive playlist, my expectations were shattered, no pun intended. Seriously. This is a mobility class, not a freezing, not a crowd control class. So with that said, you can understand why I was disappointed. I wanted that crowd control class, but what I got was something that unleashed the best mobility Titan has ever seen. And yes, I'm even including Twilight Garrison in that discussion. So let me break it down so you understand what I mean by best mobility. It comes in the form of an aspect and a melee ability. The melee ability is pretty self-explanatory. You hold the melee button down to track and release it to hit. A lot of people forget to release it and then complain that it has terrible tracking, but I don't even use it as a melee ability. To me, this is just a raw movement ability. The other thing worth mentioning is the Cryoclasm aspect, which gives you a longer slide. You get 2 of them in a row and it has a small cooldown, similar to Top Tree Dawnblade's Icarus Dash. So you get the super enhanced slide and you can do the melee out of that slide. And that slide also breaks ice crystals, which if you have the same fragment that I have, it gives you ability energy just for breaking the crystals. But before I get into any of that, I want to teach you about the melee. One thing to mention is that you are going to think at first that it has wonky tracking. I promise you, you hold and then release when your target is near. The best way I'm finding to use that melee in close quarters, where it's going to use a neutral melee instead, is to just look at the floor, then activate the melee ability. And even if there's a target point blank in front of you, it will hit him because at the floor, there's nothing to lunge onto, so it won't use your neutral melee. Oh yeah, I know what you're thinking. Did I just super bounce off of a grenade? Yeah, you can do that. And yeah, I can slide into the crystal to get improved ability regeneration. And I can even leave an extra crystal so that when the timer is close to 0, I can do it again and loop my grenade nearly infinitely. What I really want to hammer in is what you see on the screen right now. Let's pretend that tree I'm shooting at is the enemy. Well, you're going to do your normal combo and you escape with the melee. It creates some distance. You maybe don't get hit by an ice ability because you created some distance. You can put your barricade down, whatever you have to do. The point is, you create space, you now dictate the engagement. This essentially gives you a free escape or a free entry depending on how coordinated your team is. And before anybody judges me really hard and says like, okay Satan, I was using this with Bastion and I don't know what sort of innate power I woke in myself, but I was hitting some pretty nutty shots. And you're gonna laugh at that, but just wait for another video coming down the pipeline. You won't be laughing. Anyhow, what I was doing is I was using this enhanced mobility with Bastion to create just enough space that I couldn't get shotgun, I couldn't get frozen, but Bastion would truck people. And it worked very, very well. Like surprisingly well. And so this is what solidified me saying that this Stasis subclass is my official shotgunning and fusion rifle subclass. Legit for the reasons you're about to see. Enhance slide into the room, shotgun, use the melee to close the gap, free somebody with the melee, zigzag away from their Cryoclasm activated if I have to. Oh look, I froze somebody. Oh, enhance slide to the door, another punch. I created space, didn't have that shotgun loaded, but it doesn't really matter. I still have a super in my back pocket and the wall's not even broken. If I wanted to, I could slide into it right now for enhanced energy, but the super seemed like a better idea. Now you're starting to understand just how nutty this is. Watch, I'm about to slide to the right off of the platform and then use the lunge of the super, which I haven't even talked about yet, to close the gap and get away from the red light district. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I hope that ensemble saves me a lot of talking, because it really just captures the essence of this class. Now, before I got distracted with that background gameplay, I was mentioning my sniper subclass of choice on Titan, and thankfully, it's not also the Behemoth. It's middle tree code of the commander, the Sentinel Titan. The reason for this being that a sniper's role is to initiate, and if I somehow miss both of my snipe bullets, then I still want to double down on that role. And the best way to fulfill this is to use the Heart of Inmost exotic chest piece to buff my magnetic grenade, so I can use my grenade to be that opener, to be that initiator. And my teammates, if they're running both the Stasis subclass of Hunter and Warlock, which have a much better crowd control kit, well then all it takes is my enemy to do a Clown Town maneuver of just running in with the shotgun, basically just a positioning error that before Stasis they would get away with. You know, in other FPS games you don't get away with that. Anyhow, they get hard punished, and the magnetic grenade lets me get that opener. And that is why I think that is my sniping subclass of choice. I know when I mention this, you're gonna say, well, doesn't this mean that we have less Titan options? When in reality, it means we might have a Titan option at all. Previously, I had to min-max my armor just to compete with Hunters and Warlocks, specifically Spectral Blades and Top Tree Dawn Blades. Now, I think the Stasis Titan kinda has the full kit right out of the gate, so it's good to go. This means that now, if it's a very, very close game and you have to win, what subclass are you playing? A lot of players are going to say the Stasis Titan, and that's pretty cool. Obviously, I want the other classes buffed, but that's gonna take time. If you notice a trend with every expansion ever in Destiny, is that whatever's new is typically overtuned, and I suspect this is because it generates buzz and makes casuals feel like they're clever for finding the broken thing and using it before other people. Let's call a spade. The community does ask for chaotic abilities, and that vocal minority that is the competitive PvP community usually idolizes the things that are jokes to other FPS communities. So with this being said, let's think big picture here. The other subclasses are probably not going to get buffed up to the Stasis level, and Stasis will probably get nerfed somewhat to bring it in line once this initial buzz has worn off. This is kind of a twofold reason. Number one, Bungie is developing this during a pandemic, and number two, it is very difficult to playtest this without being on this grand scale. You need very crazy players to break the game so that Bungie can remedy it, which means that subclass reworks for the other classes are probably farther out than you think. So we might be in Stasis land for a little bit, but I'm totally okay with that because, like I said, this is more options than we had before. It kind of sucks that I have to see it that way, but like, let's get a grip with reality here. This is Destiny we're talking about. We have many years of history that make me think that. But on the bright side, we also have a lot of years left in Destiny. So Stasis has created a really cool framework. I mean, excuse the, cold pun. But for PvE, this might be the best PvE Destiny has ever had now that there are more MMO aspects in the game. So like I was alluding to, when you think about this big picture here, we are having more options for PvP for viable classes than we did before, and PvE maybe gets the best era it's ever had. It sounds like a pretty good deal to me. So this is why I don't expect perfection when it comes to Destiny. There is just too many genres that attract people to the game in the first place. You might like FPS, you might like MMO, you might like RPG, something in between. I don't know. One of those facets of Destiny is going to appeal to you most. And as they sort of take away from one to build upon and expand the other, it maybe ruins the initial reason that you fell in love with the game. And then you also have to consider the type of player the content is designed for. Is it for a casual audience? Is it for a hardcore, intense audience? Something in between? I don't know. But people play games for different reasons. Overall, if you're not enjoying Stasis, that's fine. You don't have to stick around. You can drop your constructive criticism and leave. You don't have to play it. I, for one, am going to continue having fun until I don't, and then I'll just drop it until it gets an update that makes it fun again. I consider Destiny like watching a weekly show that comes out with a new episode each week. You may not, and that's okay. Anyhow, I hope this video made the Stasis Titan more fun for you. Let me know how you're enjoying it in the comment section below.